Hi everybody. Today I am going to be doing this scene. It's from a little place called Great Yarmouth where I come from. And I just thought it would be a little bit of fun. You can see the reference picture up there. It's one of my own photos. I will put a link to it in case any of you want to have a go. But you can see that what I've done here is I've used, what did I use? I used my Carbon Platinum, fountain pen, which has got quite a fine nib on it. I used that to sketch everything out because this is going to be pen and wash. So I'll bring this up a little bit closer so that you can see what I've done. And all I'm going to do now is add some colour with my watercolours. If I get that straighter again, there we go. So what am I using? I've got the Escoda Perla number 10 as a round brush that's got really nice point on it. This paper is 300 GSM cold pressed paper, and these are my Michael Harding paints. So that's what I'm going to be using to bring this scene to life with some colour. So I'm going to start off with at the top and work down, hopefully, or I may move about if I'm waiting for things to dry. You'll notice I've added this barrel in. There isn't a barrel in the photograph. There was something there, but I really cannot remember what it was because it's over a year ago that I went now to this particular spot anyway. So just so that there was something there in the corner, and to give it a little bit more interest, I added this big barrel basically. So let's start with the sky, and for the sky today I am going to use, what should I use? I think to ring the changes I'm going to use a bit of lavender, because why not? So here we go, let's get going with the sky. Move where I'm sitting a little bit and we will get some of this in. I think this is such a pretty colour, this lavender. And I'm just roughly going around the kind of dotted outlines that I made to give an impression of clouds. So I'm just going around that. The bit's coming out a bit darker. We'll add a bit more water. That's okay. Maybe we've got a darker bit of sky here. And that across. Definitely too dark there. I'm just going to keep adding some, take paint from there and keep adding some water. I don't know if that's an actual technique. Don't know if anyone else does that. but that's what I'm doing. Really pretty. I'm liking this. And in fact, we could have one side of our sky a little bit darker, couldn't we? To add some interest. You'll notice that I don't always add paint. I sometimes just add water. You know, that's what watercolour's all about. We need the water. Blend that across a little bit better. Okay, so we have got our lavender in there. In fact, hold on. I think I'm just going to kind of go around there a little bit. Like so. Right, so we have our sky. No, I can't. No, I won't do that bit next, or anything that's close to it. Let's move down the bottom here. And we've got lots of these pebbles. So I think buff titanium comes to mind for these pebbles. So we'll have some buff titanium. And as I go along, I will ring the changes with some other browns just to add some variety in there. But initially, I'm just going to get this down, and I want it fairly watered down so that you can see the ink below. So we've got some pebbles in there. Let's add our sepia. And I'm just going to dab in a little bit of the sepia here and there. But I will probably use some coloured pencils to get some depth to some of this, but I just didn't want it all to be exactly the same colour. Let's go a bit more sepia, because this is a different rock there. And maybe some of the raw umber as well. So we've got some rocks there. And I probably shouldn't have done them next, because that's kind of bleeding into the pebbles. So I'm just using a damp clean brush to remove some of that. That's a bit better. I didn't want that running everywhere. Okay, what should we do next? I think maybe I might need to dry it first. So let's dry this back in a tick. Okay, that is now dry enough. So let's do our poles that these seagulls are sitting on. And it's a kind of a greyish brown. So yeah, I'm mixing, can you see? I'm mixing the mud on my palette. Which was a little bit of the sepia, a little bit of the burnt umber, a little bit of the buff titanium, and what I'm going to add to it is a little bit more of the raw umber. I need to get a bit more out. Probably should have wet these first, shouldn't I? There we go. So let's do these holes. I'm actually really loving these Escoda brushes. I only have 3 of them, but I'm finding them rather lovely. You'll notice I've got 5 poles and 3 birds, so we're working in odd numbers, which I have read is what the eye prefers. How someone found that out, I don't know. I obviously did some research. Okay, so we've got our poles there. Actually, I need to, there's a bit more out there, doesn't it? And I've missed a bit there and a bit there. Oh, and I'm getting my sleeves in the paint. Let's maybe move it round the other way. Right. While they dry, I'm going to do my barrel. Now then, I think maybe we will make this. Let's add. Let's keep going with our colour here. Just keep adding to it. That's some yellow ochre. And some earth of cypress. What do we get? Oh yeah, that's not a bad colour. I think that might work for our barrel. I think that's a good barrel colour. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop, where is this earth of cypress? There you are. I just want to drop a bit more of that in where these little knots in the wood are, but also to add some interest so that this isn't completely flat, and that hopefully will spread out a bit. Maybe we'll make that side just a little bit darker. There, that's better. It helps to make it look like it's a 3D shape, I think. And then, no, we won't do that because the brown is waiting to dry. What should we do next? Should we do this? Let's do this, I don't know, some kind of fir type plant. And let's use our moss green for that. And I'm just mixing it with where I've mixed a green before on the palette. So we want that to be merge that in the middle there. Yep. And then if we pick a different green, maybe we can add a bit of perylene green to that. Maybe we can start getting some of these grasses up around here. We've got little bits of grasses that are just kind of dotted about between the pebbles, so we can get some of those in. We don't have to make sure we've done every one necessarily. And then we need this green here. And then we're going to need a different green. And then our golden kind of grasses, dried grasses almost, aren't they? So we need a different green here to the ones we've already done. So maybe let's take some of the olive green. I'm still mixing it with what I've used. By mixing with what we've already used, it means that the colours are cohesive. And maybe we'll add a bit of yellow. What is this? Turner's yellow. Is that looking different enough? Let's just try you over here. No, not really. Okay. So let's add, what shall we add? A bit more perylene and go a bit darker maybe, because it's further away in the distance. And you can see I'm just making these they're just lines is all I'm going to say. I don't really know what else I could call them. But yeah, they're just kind of lines. And I don't mind that I'm going to be going over, there's some little white flowers on here, but I can use my bleed proof white, so it doesn't matter that I'm painting over them, and I will still be able to see because of the so I'm just making sure that I've got some different directions going on so it's not all the same. This will be the hard bit because I don't want to go over the top of the barrel, or rather into what would be, I don't know, the empty barrel, or maybe the barrel's got some water in. I'll decide in a minute. So we've got these grasses going on, and maybe we'll just echo some of that darker green down here somewhere as well. Like that, so that gives that some depth there. And that's probably almost dry. I think we'll have some of these grasses going up and over the barrel. Okay. Now we need a colour for these kind of dried out grasses, aren't they? And I think I'll use this, but what happens if we add some new gamboge to it? Do we get more of a goldeny colour? Is that new gamboge? Yeah. What we do, let's add some of the warm white, I think, because it needs to be, yes, I want it to be a bit brighter. Okay, I think I'm happier with that. And I've just noticed that I really need to get those little houses in that are just peeking out in the background there. Now I'm going to blend some of the yellow in further down below. Can you see where I so it's not just a, I don't know, some funny line going on. So where there's some gaps in the showing that there's, you know, there's an intermingling of the grasses almost. Okay. Let's have a go at these houses in the background then. I mean, you can't really tell that they're hardly there because they kind of mingle in. But let's use a little bit of this red ochre of France. And make them a bit more kind of orangey, I think. Oh, have I moved? There we go. So let's just see if we can get these in before I go any further. There we go. We've got our little houses in the background there. Now what I might do is bring some green up into the yellow, because otherwise, yet again, we've got, that's too dark. I want it much more muted. I want it to kind of blend in. So I've used quite a watered down amount of the green there, so that we're kind of moving backwards there. And then we've got these little shrubs, little trees, whatever they are. And where's our lavender? What happens if I add some lavender to this perylene green? Do I get a kind of a grey green? I do. Ooh, what luck. Because these are obviously further away in the background. Probably a bit too much paint on there. I'll get some of that back off again in a moment. And I will be adding in another colour to break it up, because we don't want it to all be one colour. See if I can soak up some of that. Yep. And then let's take a little bit of our perylene green and just dot a little bit in here and there to give some differentiation. Like so. I think I will do my seagulls with some coloured pencils, but I'm just going to get this water or whatever it is filled in. Let's use, well, we used a kind of a mixture of browns, didn't we? Let's take our Earth of Cyprus that we used, and let's try adding a bit of the lavender to that and see if I get a kind of a grey. There we go. Right, I need that to dry so that I can see where I am and whether I need to add any more paint or whether I just want to bring out my coloured pencils now. So, okay then, so we have now got the coloured pencils out. So I have got olive green yellowish, that's a polychromos, and a sky blue polychromos. I've got a luminance sepia 10%, and the rest are all Derwent Lightfast, pine, yellow ochre, and autumn brown. Got paint all over my hands, but never mind. Right, so what I want to do is add a bit of definition to these pebbles down here. So I'm just going to go round a few with my sepia 10%. I'm not going to do every single one because the eye fills things in for us. And I'm not going completely round them. I'm kind of going round a couple of edges of them, if you like. And you can just see how, just by going around part of the pebble, means that we start to get some definition in here for those pebbles. It's not much, but then sometimes less is more. There, I think that just gives us a little bit more definition there. Let's add to our what do we call them? Stokes of wood, I don't know. And I'm just gonna go up one side with my autumn brown. And then maybe in other little places, just to give some interest to these poles. Maybe we'll call them poles. You can see what I'm working on though, so you know what I mean. Okay, here we go. There. And I think that that's added some interest to those. I want to do maybe add in, where are my two greens? My pine and my olive green yellowish. I want to get some lines going over there. And I want that to stand out a bit more because I need to put the little white flowers on top of that. I'm doing this because I want to add texture more than anything else. And then with my yellow ochre, can I get, yes I can, that's working. I can get a little bit more of another colour in there. Which I think helps. Lovely. Right. Now my seagulls are basically white anyway, but I'm just going to give them a little yellow ochre beak. And I think I'm just going to leave them as they are. Let's try and put, let's get my paintbrush again. And we will get these little white flowers in, because I think they're quite important in the middle here. like so. There, we've got those in, and I think that that helps. And I think do I want to do any splatting? Maybe we'll splat some of the green up into the... We'll take this kind of far away green. Let's hope I don't splat one of the seagulls. What are the chances, do you think? Probably quite high, but we will see, because I think that that just gives us a bit of movement up in the top there. And yep, look at it, I knew I would do that. So let me get, I've got a tissue there. Here we go. We've got a tissue. It's gone into this cloud. What I'm going to do is, because I don't want these little green splats in the cloud, so I'm just wetting them. And moving it about a little bit with my brush. Don't want you there. I think that's not too bad. That's okay. Right. This is my very dark green pine. I just want to get a little bit of something else going on in these bushes that, although I tried to get something in there, it hasn't quite turned out. So I'm just making little marks so that they become a little bit more interesting. Yes. Okay. Do I need anything on the barrel? Or will I end up spoiling it? I don't know. Oh no, I'm just using the side of the autumn brown just to get some more texture into my barrel there. Right, I think, do I splat the white there? Oh, am I obsessed with splatting? I don't know, maybe. Let's just... Yeah, I think that helps. Right. I am going to very carefully take off the masking tape. And this is usually, I'm going to move those paints out the way for a moment so I can get that more in the middle. This is where, if I'm very unlucky, I tear the paper. I'm going to turn it round, I think. Okay. And that way I've got a bit more control, she says. Ooh. There. Okay. So let me stand up to bring this up a bit higher so that you can have a better look at what I've done. Actually, can I zoom in? Let me just see if there is a better way of zooming in. Maybe not. Okay, anyway. I think it's because it's an A3 size paper, isn't it? But there we go. I will try and do this without knocking cameras about. So hopefully you can get a much better look at what I've done there. So there we go. From reference picture to line and wash. Well, I found that one huge fun to do. I hope you enjoyed it too. I have got, what have I got coming up? Well, I've still got my little travel palettes, the new ones that I bought that have both got 12 slots in to put some paint in. I'm still thinking about what I'm going to put in those, but I've been going through my quite sizable collection. This is just one of the tubs. There's 5 tubs full of acrylics, acrylic wash and gouache. So I'm going to be going through all of those and sharing all my colours. I've never actually swatched them all out, and I don't use acrylics or acrylic gouache or gouache very often, but I do have quite a good supply, and if I can sort them out a bit better, much like everything else, I will be using it more. Because when we can see what we've got, we tend to use things a little bit more easily. So there we go. Take care. Subscribe. It's absolutely free. It really helps me. Thank you so much to everyone that's following me and subscribing and making all those lovely comments. I do answer all of the comments, so please feel free to leave some comments or some questions below, and have a lovely morning, afternoon or evening wherever you are. Stay safe, stay healthy. Until next time.